What's up, guys? Eric here with driverlineup.com. Please check it out. Awesome website, built it myself. World's OK steering wheel holder, and I've got red. The the truck next to me, Landstar truck next to me, is like apple red, and for some reason that red is reflecting in here. Also, he's got an extremely loud old ass Carrier APU. So just gonna have to deal with that. Maybe a little bit of noise, but I wanted to do a second video today, last day of October. Is today Halloween, or was Halloween? I'm not sure what day Halloween is. Which, by the way, when I went by Six Flags in South St. Louis, or south of St. Louis, late last night, they had just closed their final night of Fright Night, I believe it was. And the line of cars coming out of that place was insane. So it was just like, you did not want to be in the right lane for that, because they were all getting onto the highway, and it was just craziness. But anyway, so I wanted to do I haven't made videos for a couple days, just been busy taking care of stuff at home, so I want to do a second video today for you guys and tell you that I did recently fail a DOT inspection, and hopefully give you some things to think about. Hopefully it could be a teachable moment for you. But first, I want to say, in my last video there was a comment about my air leak and about hopefully the DOT doesn't see that video. Well, I thought I made it pretty clear. Apparently it wasn't. The truck doesn't leak. Like right now, it's not leaking air. It doesn't leak while I'm driving down the road. It's not a constant air leak. What's happening, and I think I know, I may be able to, I'm actually going to climb out, because we're switching shifts right now. Jenna's inside, so she's about to drive. I may climb out and see if I can, I think that cord, not cord, or a wire that's attached to the end of the little shut-off valve, cut-off valve, hit something and got wrapped around the other tank. I think that's what it is. So I'm going to see if I can pull that wire down off that other tank and see if that solves it. But the only time it leaks air is when it's parked and the left steer tire is up on like an incline. Like at the house at the end of our driveway, there's a big incline, and I have to park to keep the truck out of the street. I have to park the front left steer tire up on that just a little bit. Well, that twerks the chassis just enough to pull on that wire, and that's when the air leak happens. So if we're in a parking lot that's on a slope and it twerks the chassis a little bit, that's when it pulls. So that's why it's not a violation, because if I were to get inspected right now, there would be no air leak. It's only in very certain circumstances that it happens, and it's when we're parked in certain circumstances. So that's why I'm not afraid to put that on the video, because it's not. In fact, the tractor passed the inspection that I'm about to tell you about. So a couple weeks ago, on our way to Springfield, I instantly failed an inspection, DOT inspection, before I even got inspected. And it was actually two things that I failed the inspection on. One was assigned to Prime, one was assigned to me. And I hope, again, and it's some of you, there's probably going to be some comments about one part of this that, you guys are, some of you, a couple of you, I know are going to be like, you rookie greenhorn, you should have found that, you should have, there's going to be some holier than now. And I'm going to tell you, even though I explained this to you, some of you will probably do the same thing in the future, because I just don't know that there's anything different that I could have done. So the first thing, the reason that I failed the inspection, as when I pulled onto the scale, like before the guy had even said go over to the parking lot for an inspection, was that we repowered a load And this was in the middle of the night, and this gentleman had to take his truck to Peterbilt. He broke down, he got towed to Peterbilt. So we went and repowered that load in the middle of the night on a weekend, and that trailer didn't have a license plate on it. Well, you know, I let Prime know. There's no crickets, no response to the middle of the night. I got to get moving. That trailer's got to get to the customer. It was registered because when you hook up to the trailer in our app, you get the cab card for that trailer, and in the app you have the cab card for your truck. So you have all the registration, everything in your phone. So the trailer was registered. It's had all its inspections. You know, it's legal to roll, but it didn't have a license plate. The license plate had fallen off, or, you know, I don't know, someone stole it, who knows. It didn't have a license plate. Well, if I'm not getting any response, it's the middle of the night, and I'm trying to repower this load, what am I going to do? There is no scenario where a license plate, a Missouri license plate, is going to show up for that trailer in like 30 minutes. There's no scenario where that's possible. So, you know, send it. Like, what am I going to do? I was going to be working back to Springfield anyway. So I sent it, you know, I don't know what other option there is other than that load just never gets to that customer because it takes a week to get a license plate. I don't know. So I sent it, you know. Was that the right decision or the wrong decision? I don't know. It was my decision, and and I paid a price. So we'd gone and we dropped that load off, had no problems with that. Picked up another load that was going to Prime in Georgia. We picked it up in Georgia, it was going to Prime. So the trailer was on its way to Prime. Well, I got tagged for a scale in Tennessee, which you guys know, Tennessee scales are open like 24/7. Those scales like never close. And as soon as I got on the scale, the guy said, pull into, you know, go over to one of the spots for an inspection. So he comes over, you know, truck is clean, logs are clean, all my paperwork's clean. But in his walk around, he finds, first of all, no license plate, at least in that state. No visible license plate is an immediate failed DOT inspection, period. Doesn't matter if the trailer is registered, fully legal to run. If it doesn't have a visible plate, it is an instant failed inspection. It doesn't matter what happens after that. Everything else could be perfectly in order, perfectly clean. That is an instant failed inspection. And they had cameras on the scale that he knew that as soon as I pulled on the scale. That's why I got inspected, because the trailer didn't have a plate. So keep that in mind. That's the first part. You may think, well, I'll send it, the trailer's legal. Man, they don't know that. When all they see is because they don't know they can't look up the trailers. All they see when you get on a scale is that there's no license plate. They don't know if the trailer's fully legal and registered and all that stuff. They're going to inspect you. And in certain states, maybe all states, I don't know, if there's no visible plate on that trailer, it's a failed inspection. That part's on Prime. They associated, the DOT officer said that one goes to Prime. And even more frustrating is that he told me Prime had been cited for the same thing 3 months earlier. So Prime dropped the ball, and I'll say Prime is actually really on top of this stuff, generally speaking. But Prime dropped the ball on that one because the same trailer had been cited for no license plate 3 months ago. So in other words, they knew this. They had already gotten cited for this and knew it 3 months earlier and never got that trailer routed in to get a new plate or whatever. So the second thing, the thing that got tagged to me, and this is where some of you are going to have this holier than thou, and that's fine, you can have your opinions. There's this black piece of plastic on the bottom of the Reefer unit on the front of the trailer, which is, for those who don't know, that's basically the refrigerator. That is the air conditioner / heater for the trailer that controls its climate, temperature, etc. There's a piece of black plastic that goes along the bottom of that, and you know, these things are almost always jacked up. They could be cracked, they could be bent. You know, it's not at all uncommon for stuff to not look great. When we pick up the trailers, we'll mention that in our inspection form that we submit to Prime, but it's not uncommon at all for there to be cracks in those plastic pieces and things like that. So there was a crack in the bottom of it, but here's the thing. I had that trailer for 6 days, and in that 6 days there was never anything notable, right? And that morning it was dark when I left, and it was raining when I left, and foggy. So everything was wet. Everything on the truck, trailer, everything was wet, and I left at like 4 in the morning. So it's pitch black. Now I get out on a pre-trip, and this is where maybe you can learn something from this. I don't know if it would help. I don't know if I would catch it the next time. When it's dark and everything's wet on the trailer, I'm not convinced that I would have seen there was a crack. There's a couple cracks on the bottom of this piece of plastic, but one of these cracks was like 3 or 4 inches long. There's a little bit of oil that had come out of that crack, and the oil mark on the bottom was probably the same width of the crack but the opposite direction. So oil had been coming out of this crack and was on some of the plastic. Little bit of oil. I don't think there's any way that I would have seen that with everything wet at 4 in the morning, even with a flashlight. If I had walked right up to the reefer unit and shined the flashlight right at the bottom, I'm standing like 3 feet away from it, maybe I would notice some oil there. Maybe. But in my pre-trip, you know, I'm generally just kind of looking at my hoses. I'm looking at the coupling. I'm looking for leaks out on catwalk and stuff like that. Kind of just briskly going by it with a flashlight. I just don't think that I would have noticed that. I don't. Like, even now knowing that was something that I got dinged on, I'm not sure that I would see it. I could look for it, but when you're doing your pre-trip inspection, you're not going to spend 30-40 minutes getting 2 feet away from every inch of every part of the truck. So, do I look at it now closer than I did? Yeah, of course. I just don't think that I honestly don't think that I would have or could have seen it in the environment that I looked at it in, and it's possible that it wasn't even leaking at the time, because I had driven like six and a half hours or so before I got pulled into that scale, and Jenna was about to take over. So it's possible it wasn't even leaking in the morning, and it just started during that drive. I don't know. But in any event, on the bottom of that reefer, there was just a little bit of oil, and that was enough to tag me for an inspection fail. So, all that to say, little things like that can really mess you up. Now, he didn't put me out of service, and I told him, I was like, look, man, this trailer is going straight to Prime right now. That's where I'm headed. And so I don't know if that's something they could put you out of service for, but he didn't put me out of service, but it was a failed inspection. So, at the end of the day, it was going to be a failed inspection no matter what, because it didn't have a license plate. So let that be lesson number one. I don't know that you could do anything different if you're in a situation where a trailer's preloaded and you got to go and there's no license plate on it. I don't really know what different you could do, but just know that it can be an instant failed inspection. not having a license plate on the trailer. A. And B, little things, little tiny things can trip you up on your inspection. So sucks. I had a perfect inspection record up until that point, and it's two things that I felt were really kind of out of my control. You know, if it was my trailer, okay, then I'm really responsible for it. But I guess it's it's a trailer that I decide to pull. I chose to drive it, so I'm responsible. But it just sucked because it was two things. It was kind of like, yeah, I'm responsible at the end of the day. I'm the one who chose to drive the truck. I take full responsibility, of course. I'm not trying to say that I shouldn't be responsible, but I do feel that I was rather powerless in both of those violations. What are you gonna do? So anyway, yeah, that was my first failed DOT inspection. So frustrating. It was on my birthday too, of all days, and everything else was past the flying colors. Logs looked great, my paperwork was all in order, looked great, my tractor was in excellent condition and didn't have any, the trailer was actually in excellent condition too. And it was just stupid little 2-inch oil spot on the bottom of that black plastic. Oil on black plastic that's wet, and no license plate. So sweat the details when you're doing your pre-trips and your post-trips to find, try and just, again, I don't know that I could have or would have seen it even if I was looking for it. Even in the daytime, when he took me around to show it to me, it took me a second. I'm like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. It wasn't obvious, so. Oh, anyway, lessons learned. You guys be safe, make good decisions, and as always, drive to thrive. Talk to you soon.